Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of our weekly Tuesday evening Catalyst Meditation. Welcome to those who have joined us today. Welcome to those who may be following on the outline, although I don't see anyone. And welcome to those who've been with us in the past on the Catalyst Meditation, but can't join us today. We are going to go with our usual centering meditation right after I adjust our audio so that you can hear it. And we're going to go with 3 minutes of synchronizing our breath and if we can breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, and spend another minute in silent centering. And if we can come back to our mutual center, we can continue with our catalyst meditation with our setting our intentions. As the imaginal cells within the chrysalis come together to form the butterfly out of the disintegrated caterpillar cells, we come together to form a gateway for the meta-consciousness of the mind of Gaia. We act for ourselves personally, and we act as aspects of the whole. The universe is one, is alive, and is conscious. Holonic consciousness is a fundamental aspect of the universe. Every atom in the universe holds consciousness. It is always with us. We are acknowledging that now because many humans have forgotten and many humans have been in denial. We act to reawaken our connection to Mother Earth for the benefit of all living beings. And we acknowledge our connection to all beings. We are one with all beings. Our oneness includes all humans, including those who have gone before and those who are to come. We are one with all beings who thrive on and in the air. We are one with all beings who thrive on and in the water. We are one with all beings who thrive on and in the earth. We are one with all beings who thrive on and in our bodies. We are one with all beings that thrive on light, the beings of the plant realms. We are one with all meta-beings, including the earth as a living meta-being, air as a living meta-being, fire as a living meta-being, water as a living meta-being. We are one with all colony beings, meta-beings that are collections of solo beings, and that includes murmurations, colonies, schools, hives, pods, flocks, herds, migrations, harmonies, swarms, and other forms of colony beings. We especially acknowledge and honor those beings who are partnered and bound with us, including those beings we rely upon for food, for security, for assistance, and for love and companionship, and those beings who rely on us for the same. And we acknowledge all other forms of consciousness, known and unknown to us. Having acknowledged all beings, we blend all of our energies. May all who are part of Mother Earth be connected to and in perfect health, harmony, and balance with each other and with Gaia for the common good. We are in perfect physical health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect emotional health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect relational health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect mental health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect spiritual health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect holonic health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect spatial and temporal health, harmony, and balance. We are in the perfect place, at the perfect time, in the perfect conditions, and with the perfect beings. We set and we energize our declarations. We declare that the universe is one, is alive, and is conscious. We declare that holonic consciousness is a fundamental aspect of the universe. We declare that the earth and all earth beings are one. Together we form a meta-consciousness. We declare we declare that all humans are one family, one species, one destiny. Separations are illusory. We awaken human consciousness from all illusions of separation. We declare that humans are colony beings. We deepen and expand our human murmurations, our human harmonies. We declare that Mother Earth is the ultimate governing principle, the way that humans govern their behavior on this planet, replacing all other forms of human governance. This is the way our behavior aligns with the will of the earth. We declare that Mother Earth is providing all necessary resources to achieve the vision of a world that works for all living beings. We declare that we are creating a political and economic system where all beings participate in it, all beings are in relationship with it, all beings own it, all beings benefit from it, and all beings govern it for the common good. We'll now meditate within the holonic energy, within the energy of Mother Earth. While we're meditating, we'll be listening for any messages that we may receive that we can bring back to others. We'll be making any personal requests that we may have. And we'll be deepening and expanding our human experience of our human murmurations, our human harmonies. And we will start our meditation now. And if we can come back to our mutual center, we'll conclude our inclusivity mantra we'll conclude our catalyst meditation with our inclusivity mantra. May I be well. May I be secure. May I be happy. May you be well. May you be secure. May you be happy. May we be well. May we be secure. May we be happy. And may all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. And so it is, and so it shall be. And thank you for attending. What's in a name? And what is the meaning of our names? What are what's the energy that we hold, and what is the energy that we can hold with our names? And with us today, as with the last, 3 or 4 sessions now, is our friend Ilarion McCureliff, and I'm gonna call on him to say some words about names, and then we will get into some discussion around that. So, Ilarion, you want to?
Yeah. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm glad that you three are here, Becky, Jenna, and Angie. And I understand that Angie is going to leave pretty soon. Yeah, names. For example, I was given my traditional name at 4 years old by the last Kuyak that was left alive amongst my people. And he gave me his name called Kuyak, which means like an arm extending out from the body, a carrier of ancient knowledge into modern times, a messenger. And I've been living the legacy of my name most of my life. I'm now 76 years old. Uh, and, most society everywhere has forgotten that names mean something, and that it's only up to us individually to find out the meanings of those names. Mine was already defined, uh, and so it was kind of easy for me. And it's not so easy for everybody else that doesn't have this kind of tradition. But the names we give ourselves, okay, first of all, you have a name that's given to you by your parents or whoever. And secondly, we forgot that we used to have names that mean something to us, not just given to us by our parents. And we've forgotten that and all the traditions that went with it all over the world. And so one of the things that we're going to do is ask you in a rite of passage to uh, give yourself a name, or find somebody else that's your friend or an elder that can give you a name that would mean something to you that you would take for the rest of your life. And so most of the names that are given by other people. It's rarely given by ourselves. But if you can't find anybody, then we're going to assign you to pick out a name that means something to you in your life. And for me, my name of course, has history behind it, and it goes back thousands of years. Uh, and I'm very cognizant of that. And uh, I know that this name, Kuyach, is given to one person's lifetime. I am going to be the last Kuyach that lives in this lifetime. And there's not going to be a new Kuyach because we are at a turning point in human history where we either get it and wake up as real human beings or we're done for. And this is what all the elders that I work with from around the world are saying right now, that we need to wake up now. We humans don't have much time left to make that decision. But the elders are not concerned about that we are at the edge of survivability. They're more concerned about whether or not we wake up as real human beings who are present in the moment and in the heart. And this is the most important thing that we have to do today in this world. That once we achieve that place as a real human being, we will know what we must do during this time of great changes to Mother Earth. And we will know what to do and where to go. And that will be told to us by our hearts, not our minds. You know, the mind, traditionally, the mind would obey what the heart is telling it, and then the mind's job is to implement that which your heart is telling you. And very few people are doing that now because they're acting intellectually in the mind, which is rational and logical. But when we go to the heart, it's what I call trans-rational. And it's the only place in our existence that is in touch with the divine. It's not in the past or the future. In the past, where we have guilt, shame, remorse, anger, rage, jealousy, and all those kinds of things that are living with us here today, or we're projecting into the future of something that hasn't happened. Every place except the proverbial now, this moment, now. And this place now is the only place where we can connect with the divine. And that connection will give you information that you need during this time of great changes to Mother Earth. And what you access in your heart, you will, it's the elders that I work with say, it's the gift that you have to give to the world right now. And everybody's got some kind of gift. And it's going to take courage to get there because it may require you to do something that you never thought of doing and may sound crazy to other people, but you know it's true because your heart is telling you that. And the heart never guides us wrong. It is impeccably right. It has love, it has compassion, it has patience, it has understanding, all these things that we need right now on this Mother Earth. So many people have forgotten these principles, and for us, it comes from what we call the original instructions. Now, the original instructions were given to everyone around the world, made different only by culture, language, and the vibration of the land. But beyond that, I find I know what is happening in any culture outside of understanding their language or their culture. I understand what they're doing because we were given the same thing. Everybody had the same original instruction. And we need to get back to that now. That's what Mother Earth is saying. That's what the universe is saying. That's what our higher powers are saying. That's what all the elders are saying. That's what everything that is alive is saying right now, that we need to do this. And the elders don't know how many people it's going to take to wake up to being a real human being in harmony with all that is. But we know that there is a certain threshold that we achieve with the number of people who understand this and the principles of being a real human being and act in concert around the world to shift the vibrational frequency of Mother Earth. Right now, that frequency is surrounded in the atmosphere and everywhere else around Mother Earth that is a frequency of imbalance. And Native peoples around the world are beginning to get the message that we need to synchronize our ceremonies in prayer that new vibration frequency will be developed of love. And that when we do that, it will give people a choice of staying with the negative energy or moving towards the one of love. When we do that, the Mother Earth is not going to be as I don't know what you would call it. She won't take the action that will result in more and more, even billions of people leaving Earth during this time. We've got a few years more. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you. I will, if I'm going to say a couple of words, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and then everybody, since there's so many of us now, uh, so, if I broke us into breakout rooms, it'd be one person per room. Uh, we'll do this as we have some exercises for you. This will be an exercise of the whole. But before we do that, I'm going to do this. Um, Before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about my name. Um, um, I was not born with the name Sharif Abdullah. Um, it's as though my mother didn't have any idea what my name was and didn't particularly care. And she kind of grabbed something and um, she had a name picked out for me because she was hoping that I would be a she. And the she that she had, the name that she had picked out for me was a character in a Shirley Temple movie. And she really likes Shirley Temple. This is the Shirley Temple when she tried to have a uh, a career as a teenager, and the name that she had picked out for me was Sherwin, and I was born and didn't look like a girl, so she changed that to Sherwood. And that's all the thought she put into it. And the name never, ever stuck. There were times I wouldn't even respond to it as a child. So she and my brother and my sister are going room to room looking for me. I can hear them calling me, and I'm not responding. And so finally, I had a my own personal spot in a closet. I'd have anything to do with these people. And so she'd go into the closet, and I'm just sitting there. My seat was on a pile of dirty clothes, and she'd be yelling at me like, "Why didn't you answer us? What are you doing in there?" And I would always say, "I'm thinking my thoughts." And she never understood that. I could never explain it. And but I couldn't explain to her that this name didn't mean anything to me. So, as a young adult, I encountered someone left a Quran in my room at college. And one of the things it said in it was, "Name yourself a beautiful name." And I said, "Cool, I now have permission." So now the question was, what's a beautiful name? And um, the name that I chose, Sharif, works on several different levels. So at the time, it's just there's one level, and it means noble. Um, and at the time, I was not feeling very noble. So I said, okay, when people call me, it will remind me to be noble. I later found out that the name is also a title. Um, the person who is the head of a government, the head of a society, is the caliph. Um, but the person right under him is the sharif. And the sharif is the person, he doesn't make up the laws, but the sharif is the one that enforces the laws that the caliph makes up, which gives him really broad powers to um, interpret the laws, to enforce the ones that they like enforcing, and maybe not enforce the ones so much that they don't like enforcing. And and it felt like a very positive role for myself. Um, and so on one level, and then on two levels, I wound up in a uh, I think a really powerful role in terms of what I do, what I still do, and I need to do this work with other people. I'm not the I don't make it up. We make it up together, and I get to carry it out. Um, what Ilarion said regarding a couple of things. As you know, I've been in several different places in the world, and some of the places have some real interesting traditions regarding names. Um, in Ladakh, which is northern India, southern China, to the west is Tibet. So the people there really look Tibetan. Ladakhi sounds like Tibetan. If you can speak Ladakhi, you can speak Tibetan, and vice versa. Um, People get their names from the monks in their area. And so a woman, when she's had a baby, she said, "I had a baby, and what's the name?" And he just goes, "Boom, there's the name." And they're three very popular names. And the interesting thing about them is that they are non-gender specific. So one of my good friends in Ladakh, her name is Stanzin, but her younger brother's name is also Stanzen. So you go to the monk and he said Stanzen, and the mother doesn't say, "Hey, you said that one already, and this one's a boy." Like, no, yes, you're Stanzen too, which kind of makes things interesting in families. The other place I thought I've been to that has interesting names is Bali, um, where you have your personal spiritual name, you then have your family name, and then you have your village name. And then, if you're actually known outside of your village, you will then have an extra village name. Um, your personal name is given to you when you are born. It's whispered in your ears at birth, and nobody ever refers to it ever again, because that's the name of your power. Whoever knows that name has power over you. So they don't even tell the child in case they happen to say, "Oh yeah, my name is Joe," and then everybody can get power over Joe. Um, and which is really interesting because the only people who know your true name, your spiritual name, is your mother and father. Um, they don't tell the rest of the other kids. So your family name is given to you by your birth order. Firstborn is Wyan, second born is Made, third born is Nyoman, and fourth born is Ketup. Um, what happens if there's a fifth kid? Well, it's interesting. Um, if you think you're going to have a big family, you start over again with Wyman. Um, and then when you get to the 10th kid, you start over again with Wyman. So one family may have 3 or 4 Wymans in it. Oh, and they're gender non-specific. If if you are a girl and you're the firstborn, you're Wyan Ni. If you're the fourthborn, you're Ketuk Ni. Um, some families just get when they get to number 4, it's Ketuk and then Ketuk Ketuk Ketuk. And if they have 10 kids, then they may have 5 or 6 Ketuks. Um, and it works out. Um, the uh, Ilarion said that there are people who've forgotten that names are important. There are people who have forgotten um, that their own names are important. This is a tradition, unfortunately, a tradition in African American communities where your name is just basically sounds. Um, and the name has no intrinsic meaning to it. Um, my um, great grandson, I can't remember his name because his name isn't memorable. There's some sounds that um, my grandson and his um, girlfriend made up. It's not it's it's not a tradition. It doesn't mean anything. It's just, here's some sounds. Let's throw them together. And your name is substantial. It creates substance. And um, um, as Ilarion was saying, if you are from a village, the elders of that village will know who you are, and the elders of the village um, will focus you or focus your energy in a direction or away from a direction as you need to take your place in that village. And it reminded me of when I knew Malidoma Some, um, who was from West Africa. Um, at one point, I was talking to him, or, can we get together at such and such a time? And he said, no, I have to go back to Africa because the elders found my wife. So I have to go back and marry her. And I said, well, this is somebody you know, right? He said, no, he said, never met her. Um, and that's how are you going to marry someone you've never even met? And he said, the elders in my village know me. They know me better than I know myself. And so he went home. How you doing? Let's get married. And they did. Um, um, and as some of you know, if you know them, they were together for years, but they actually separated because that marriage needed to be in that village. It would have been sustained and sustainable by that village. And I can say in my three times at bat, um, um, we did not have the sustaining power of a village to knit us together or keep us knitted together. Um, so we don't, I'm speaking for myself. I don't have that relationship with a group of elders. I don't think that you have that relationship with a group of elders. Therefore, I think that we have to be selecting our name or names. So a friend of mine was saying, this is Calvin Hikakta, um, and he was saying that he had several different names, and each of these names was valid in certain circumstances. So he said, for example, um, within his tribal function, he had a name that that would establish a particular energy in the tribe. And that's the name they use in that ceremony. And then in another context, then he has a different name. And I said, well, how many names can you have? He says, how many do you want? You know? um, and so I started looking at what are my names. And I'm going to invite you to do the same thing starting right now. Um, um, and again, I'm going to do this in grid fashion so that all of us get a chance to respond to this. And Okay. So the first response I'm going to ask of you is, what would be your ancestral name? What would be the name of someone in your family, someone in your DNA line that you identify with? Okay. Um, so I'm going to answer that, and then I'm going to ask Alarian if he has an answer for that, and then I want everyone else to say what that'll give y'all some time to think about that. The name of the person in my family that I identify with is my Uncle Jeff. And the reason I chose him out of anybody else in my family um, is that he is the longest lived person in my DNA line. Um, I met him when he was 104 years old. I think he lived to like 110 or something like that. I didn't identify with him like in terms of a person. He was not not a nice person. Or I should say, he had as much tolerance for a 6 or 7 year old as you would expect to have if you're 104 years old. And we didn't get much talk out of him. And uh, I never seen anybody, never heard of anybody that old before. So it's a pretty, oh, and the adults just shoved us into his room, like, okay, that's your Uncle Jeff. And um, but there's a statistic that says you live within um, um, 10% of the years with the person in your family that you identify with the most. Okay. So,
Can you explain that another way?
say again.
Can you rephrase that another way?
I probably could. Um, um, you live as long as the person you identify with, and that can be plus or minus 10%. So, for example, if you identify with a person who's 60 years old, you may pass at 54, you may pass at 66, but somewhere in there, that's when you're going to pass. My mother passed at 42. So I chose the oldest lived person to give myself a little bit of wiggle room. So by my Uncle Jeff's standard, I'm just middle-aged right now. And I'm just going to keep going. So um and I Larry, and I don't know if you don't have to have an answer, but I don't know if you have an answer to that question.
Yeah, well, my culture has names given to each other based on what meaning it has of that person to yourself. So, for example, Swiak. Swiak is a relationship between the parent of a child that is like a godfather, but it's basically the responsibility of Sriak to uh, uh, help raise the child spiritually.
Hmm.
Acha. I had, we call each other Sriak, for example, but also Acha is a relationship between a younger and older person, and it's spiritual, and it is such a most people have a hard time understanding this, but when the young person sees the older person and the older person sees the younger person, they know that that's my acha without any words. And it's a spiritual mentor, a physical mentor. It's a mentor that helps the child grow up into being a real human being. So my acha taught me what all I know about ethics and value of my people, hunting, fishing, and all the principles related to that. And he took me under his wing from age 5 to age 13. But in that entire time, he may have said 200 words to me. Because words are considered superfluous and maybe even dangerous. My job was to watch, listen, and learn, not ask any questions. His job was to create the space for me to learn. And so that's the relationship that we have. So it depends on what you're doing with that person that you get the name. And it's not necessarily an ancestral name, but it's a relationship. It's all about relationship, not anything else for as far as my people are concerned.
Well, let me ask you a question about that before we get other people involved in that. You said it's not necessarily ancestral name, but is that person who's assigned to you, are they in your DNA line? Are they related to you, or they can go outside of the village and say, this is your acha?
Well, we don't make that distinction about DNA. What we do, I use this example frequently. If you take a kitchen rubber glove, everybody knows what that is, and you blow into it until these fingers pop up. These fingers think they're human when they're only one breath. And that's the way we look at everybody. We are only one breath. So there's no distinction or separation.
Okay, I may have to come back to that one. So anyone what would be your ancestral name? And Angie.
I did get the phone call, so I want to share briefly, and then I'll have to go. I would say the name I identify, the ancestor I identify most with is my mother's mother, my grandmother, and her name was Charm. And
That's a
I
cool
only
name.
met her 2 or 3 times, She was called that because she was born in Indiana about 2 months early on February 14th, 1886.
Okay, there you go.
And in those days, if you were born early, you just died, basically.
Yeah.
And her father put her in a shoebox, and put her in the biscuit warmer in their cast iron oven, and that's how he kept her warm when she wasn't being held.
What
And
a
that's how she
story.
lived. She lived,
Yeah.
And she was always very tiny. She had a quadruple A shoe. They had to go into Indianapolis to buy shoes for her because she was so little. But she had a very strong spirit, and yet she was very gentle. I remember her being very soft and gentle, and I always knew she loved me, always, even though I didn't see her very many times. And I feel like there's personality types in families, and I feel very much like I kind of came through her personality. That I feel like there's a lot of type A's in my family, but at least she and I were kind of the type B's in the family. But anyway, I very much identified with her, and I left her name, So
Yeah, Angie, my people, the way we understand that grandma and grandchild relationship is that the grandchild picks up spiritually where the grandmother left off.
absolutely, absolutely. I can totally relate to that, so.
Well, right now I'm in the middle of a family crisis, and I can say absolutely for better and for worse. That gives me some insight on dealing with a situation I'm having with my grandson right now. So
Mm.
um, I'll thanks for that. Thanks for those words.
Mm.
Um, and Andy, thank you for hanging in here as long as you did.
Yes, I'm really glad I was able to stay as long as I was, and thank you all, and thank you, Larry, and very much for your wisdom and sharing, and I will see you guys in the morning, so
Yep, sounds cool. Yep.
bye.
Um, Esther, you came in late-ish. You understand the question? What is okay, so I'll show you the question again. We're talking about names, and so the question is I'm going to ask you for several different ways of thinking about your name. Okay. So the first question is, what is your ancestral name? What's the name of someone in your family that you identify with, you choose to identify with? You may not have anybody in your family you identify with, but um, that's the question. I'm going to ask that of either Jenna or Becky now to give you a chance to think about it. And don't tell me y'all are shy. I know better. Jenna.
I've always felt that I was dropped in the wrong nest.
Hmm.
And for the first 25 years of my life, I was never seen or understood by my family. Nobody in the family. I had no champion. I had no one who understood me, except a little bit my paternal grandmother. And the thing was, of my family, she was the one where there was some resonance and some shared quirkiness. But she was the one I saw the least. So it was really strange. And she died younger. In other words, I always thought because of her vitality, she would live long. And I have a ring my father made for her. You know, as after her husband had died, she just felt like she'd always wanted to see the Pacific Ocean. So she put herself on a bus and took a Greyhound bus out to Oregon or Washington to see the Pacific Ocean. And she picked up this stone. And she's the type of person who gave a lot. There was a joy to her. And she taught not because they needed money, Depression era and so forth, but because she loved children, she wanted to teach. So she let her heart guide her, even if it was quirky. They had an old Nash Rambler, it was blue, and the paint was in bad repair. So what did she do? She bought a can of paint and she hand painted the car.
Yeah, it works. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, she had that type of, just, and she was the one who tempered. She was the tempering person, not so much as intervening as she was an antidote for me, for everybody else.
Yeah.
And yet she's the one I saw maybe a week, a year.
Mhm.
And she left before I was ready for her to leave. Her name was Eva.
Eva.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am going to uh, hustle us along because I got a bunch of questions here.
Okay.
I would like to get to all of them tonight.
Okay.
Becky?
Yeah, my circumstances somewhat like Jenna's, but not quite. Yeah, I never felt like I belong in my family. I still don't. Um, both sides of my family were pretty dysfunctional. Um, so I relate much more to animals and trees, and you know, I get caught up in feeling the wind, and I just don't. I start thinking about family, extended family. I'm like, ooh, like, yeah, like,
That is a sufficient answer. I mean, that we're not, you don't have to reach down and say, yeah, I'm best buddies with, weird Uncle Al, yeah, because I have other questions coming up where you may feel more resonant. So
Yeah.
Esther.
And Becky, our people come from a framework where we understand that when we're spirit beings, we choose what family we're born in for the experiences that they're going to give us. And obviously, your experiences were not pleasant, but you understood as a spirit being in human form that once you chose that human form, you're going to get certain kinds of experiences that you hadn't had when you were a spirit being. And so everything that we are, we say it has a purpose from the time that you are born.
Yeah. So Esther.
Well, like Jenna and Becky, I too did not feel like I belonged in my family.
Maybe this is a theme for the Commonway gathering here. Yeah.
I don't know. My family was really strongly Christian. I'll tell you who really inspires me is my great grandfather, C.F. Leipront, Carl Frederick Leipront. He came over from Württemberg when he was just 18 years old on a ship, sailed from Le Havre, France. And he landed on the shores of New York, migrated down to Massachusetts. And I don't know how it happened that way, and got a job in a cabinet factory. And sometime in that time, he had a conversion experience. Being from Württemberg, I assume he was Lutheran, his family, but he became enamored with the Methodist Church, and so he became a circuit rider for the German Methodist Church in America in the 1800s. And I know that he founded at least 3 churches. The last one was the one I grew up attending as a child. So what I really appreciate is that although I didn't feel all that comfortable in my family or even in the church because of all the hypocrisy, I still had an awareness of spirit. I knew God, and I could walk out into the backyard or along the river and commune with nature and find God there. So I'm pretty sure that he blessed that, dedicated that land to the Father, to God. Yeah, because I think it saved my life, really.
Excellent. Okay, so let's do, unless you have anything else you want to say about the ancestral part, let's look at the next question.
Yeah, before you get to that, Sharif, I want to say a little bit to Esther. You know that our people know that we are spirit beings and then we come into human form. And that the human beings that are there as our parents have a temporary care for the child. It's only temporary. And to think that they're our child, we feel is not the correct way to look at what this spirit being in human form is doing or is. That you are a spirit being in human form and you don't belong to anyone.
Yeah. Um, you know, it's interesting. We could stay right on this one question for the rest of the hour and have a very, very deep conversation about all of that, because I'm literally chomping on my tongue right now because I've got some things I would like to say about this ancestral piece, about family, etc. But I also think that some of these other questions are also important. So let's get to at least the next one. And that is, what's your ecological name? What's your earth name? What's the name of a non-human being that you identify with? Now, remember, this may be a being of the land. It may be a being of the water. It may be a being of the air. It could be an interbeing that's land and water or air and land. Again, I'll give you sort of an answer, and then I'll invite Ilarion to give you a sort of an answer, and then we can fill in. When we did the session some months ago on what is your divine counsel, and I said on my personal divine counsel, I have a number of non-human beings that I draw energy from, and that includes the whale nation, that includes the bee nation. Bees are just way, way, way interesting and important. The cat nation, from this size all the way up through tigers, and the wolf nation, um, not dogs, but wolves. And I had an encounter with a guy who had a wolf as his partner. And he said, you know, when you are partnered with a wolf, there's nobody who thought that that being was a dog. Uh, it was, um, I felt honored when the being would sit with me, would literally look at you. When you are looked at by a wolf, you feel it. You could feel that all the way down in your toes. Okay, there's just nothing like it. Um, he had to have a leash on himself all the time. And he would take the leash and he would literally just drape it across the wolf's back. Um, and but when he was out in the woods, he wouldn't even do that much. He would not, like this is um a being. I could say more, but I won't. Okay, so mine would be whale or bee or wolf. And it's interesting because each one of them has a very, very different energy. And in the wild, each one of them has a very pure energy. And there are times when I need each kind of energy. So yeah. So Larry, I don't know if you've got anything that you are.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're describing what I would describe as spirit animals.
Mhm.
Uh, when my elders came to me and said, you must decide whether or not you leave St. Paul Island or not. St. Paul Island was my home. An island that's 12 miles long, 5 miles wide in the middle of the Bering Sea. So very unique. And so they said, I have a choice. I can go, and if I go, I must let go of St. Paul as my home. And that the new home that I would have if I go is going to be the world. And so I thought, okay, well, I guess I'll go. But it took me like 4 years to get St. Paul out of my bloodstream and let it go as a home and look at the world as my home. And as such, I see everything in existence, both in space and within Mother Earth, as part of me, and I'm part of them. But I do have spirit animals that most people don't understand what the spirit animal is. And it's very hard to describe in words, but they are the orca, the eagle, and the white bear. And each one of them, as you said, have different strengths that they give. The eagle, for example, teaches me about how to soar high and see far. And the orca teaches me about dreams and being in family groups and how to cherish them. And the white bear, of course, is a bear that lives here in the far north, and it has many, many strengths, not the least of which is that that the white bear can survive in almost anything, even the climate change that's happening now is going to survive one way or another. So anyway, I don't identify an ecological name, but I do identify with these components and everything in existence.
The only thing that I can do, where am I? I've disappeared. Okay, let's try doing it this way.
We hear you.
Yeah, I hear me too. So the only thing I could do to keep up with the conversation is to catheterize myself. I don't want to leave, but I also I need to do that from time to time. So who wants to go next? What is your ecological or your earth name? What do you identify with? Becky?
Well, kind of like you were describing, Larry, and which I was sort of like, sort of everything, just the whole aliveness and just being part of the whole. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it, but it's not like a single, it's just the whole, the whole.
Esther.
Um, I the animal that I identify most with is my dog. You know, I learned a lot from her. Like if we do a dance, and if my mind is not settled enough, she doesn't come to me. So if I settle my mind, then she'll come. So she gives me a good gauge as, you know, where my mind is and what kind of energy I'm putting out. But as I relate with nature. Like if I walk among trees, I can feel their energy and their life, and it feels so good. I love gardening and just being with the plants, and I like going to parks and forests, and um appreciating animals mostly from afar because I'm a homebody.
Yeah, Esther, you know, we have stories about dogs and cats. And as the story goes, the dogs and cats made an agreement with human beings to be devoted to them, and in return for which they would receive care and comfort and love. And that the dog and cat agree to take on anything negative that the human being has and absorb it to themselves and eliminate them whatever way they can. And so it's an honorable thing to have what we call pets that are not pets. They are a member of our family. And that's the way that we feel about them. And we must understand, my people say, that they have a purpose in life for you. And one of the things is to give eternal love, unconditional eternal love.
Yeah. I was, so back to the being, the wolf being, that people from time to time would make a mistake, would mistakenly call a dog. Um, I was thinking about, the being's name was Tala. I was thinking about Tala when was doing, in the Catalyst meditation, the most recent part of it was, that was added, was acknowledging the beings that we're partnered and bound with, um, and recognizing the categories. Um, we are bound with beings for food. We eat beings. We can't live without beings. In order for us to live, something dies. And we should be thankful for that. We're bound with beings for security. We're bound with beings for assistance. And you think about my street here, 14th Avenue, is used by the seeing eye dogs to train the dogs to navigate streets. For some reason, they think that this is a normal street. Okay, so you always see the dogs, the trainee dogs, the ones that are still jumping around, curious about stuff, you know. Um, and recognizing when the dogs get finished being trained, that person is relying on that dog for their lives. the dog cannot have a single lapse of attention. And people are, oh, can I pet your dog? It's like, no, you can't pet my dog. Can I put out your eye? You know, um, and and although I don't have pets, people rely on their pets for love and companionship, especially in the weird society we've got nowadays where we can't do that with those human-looking animals out there. And to recognize that they rely on us for that also. I was talking to a woman who said she had chickens. And I said, well, they're your pets. She says, well, no, they're not pets. She says, I love them. And when their time comes, I chop off their heads and pull out their feathers and I eat them. It doesn't stop me from loving them. And she really helped me to understand having a relationship with beings. I'm thinking about that, about the piece of fish I have thawing out on my counter right now that's going to be dinner. Um, um, I was going to say but we, you have an up close and personal relationship with that piece of fish. Okay. And I'm and that's how we should be saying thanks when we're being grateful for that. Okay, and I'm slowing things down now. So Jenna, do you want to chime in here on ecological beings?
Yes. From the perspective of spirit animals, the two that for some reason have resonated with me, and this is not something you can logic, are black jaguar and hawk. And as it turns out, a month ago, I was at an event and there was a man there with a live hawk. And it was the first time in my life I've had some experience with hawk. I'll try and make this brief. I had a trying experience related to my child when he was young. And I was really struggling with how we were going to get through this. And one day I went outside and I was aware of a hawk flying, but it was more than that. It's like suddenly I felt the strength here in these joints of where the wing connects to the body of the hawk, and the strength that it took to fly, and that lifted me. And that has always stayed with me, that sense of strength in that part of the body. But it was tangible, it was lucid, it was experiential. And there are times where hawk feathers show up. So it was mesmerizing to just be able to be, like 2 feet from this hawk and just be together. I've had an earth-based name, actually 2 of them, but one, I've had earth-based names come to me in recent years. One is for the work that I'm doing, my legacy work, that relates to water, and I'm not really ready to share that. The other really is more plant-based. And so similarly to Esther, I do love nature. My mother's side of the family was into farming and in a rural area. We spent many holidays and summers on my grandmother's farm. But what I really gravitate to, though, are the plant kingdom more than anything else. If I had to pick a fish, it would probably be dolphin or whale. But so
They're not fish.
oh, right. Well, but they're in
I,
water.
I do the same mistake. Yeah.
They're in water, and my legacy work, it has to do with water. But I have a name that's from the plant side that has come to me. And it's a name that when I check on the internet, nobody else has, amazingly. It's 2 words, and I'll share the first. The first one is Tulsi, Tulsi, which is sacred herb. It's sacred basil from India.
And a raptor story. Here in Portland, at the Forestry Center, there was a raptor exhibition, and went up there, and they had all sorts of birds there. But the star of the show was this golden eagle that is a huge bird. It's when you see it in the sky, it's like, oh, there's an eagle. But this was on this woman's arm, and she had this glove that went all the way up to her above her elbow, and the bird had leather thongs on its claws, and it was gripping her arm, and she was gripping its holder, and the bird was just kind of like chilling. You get the bird is just looking around like, yes, I know I'm the baddest thing in the room, so everybody should look at me. I'm take a really good look. I'll turn this way so you can look that way. Um, um, and also I'm looking at the bird and I'm talking to the woman, the handler. I don't want to call it a keeper. Call her a keeper. But I was talking, and all of a sudden, as I'm talking to the woman, this bird focuses. It goes shoo, and doesn't move, and it is looking at something. The bird did that so suddenly that I jumped. The woman holding the bird jumped. And this bird was completely, totally fixated on a woman who had just pushed her baby stroller into the room. And that bird was looking at that baby, and that bird saw dinner. Okay. And the woman um, was oblivious to the fact that this bird was wanted to carry away her child and have lunch. She's like, "Oh, look at the pretty birdie," and the kid is like, "Ah." And the handler said, "The glove I'm wearing has steel ribs in it, and if it didn't, this bird would have broken my arm because it gripped down that hard." Okay. It it wanted to be gripping onto this kid that hard. And now I would like to think that if I was aware, if I was paying attention, and that was my child, I would have thrown myself between that bird and my child. I would not have let the bird even see my child. Um, I don't know. It is, we're so out of, uh, the flow of what nature feels like what being in a natural setting feels like. Okay, um, you see pictures of folks in Yellowstone walking up to buffaloes to take pictures. Like the buffalo going to stand there and say, "Do you want me on this side or that side?" You know, as opposed to trying to punt it across the highway. Um, it's respect and being respectful of who and what this being is. Okay, are we moving along? Becky, do you want to say any more? I got more questions here.
Do we get to do more? Can we go longer than 2 hours?
Let's see how we feel when we get to the top of the hour. Um, I can go for a while, but Ilarion is I want to honor his energy also. So let's get to the top of the hour and then see where we are.
We're all in agreement on that.
Um,
Okay, my experience with animals is a bit different than with most people, I think, because they don't have the systems that we have. We have people in interior Alaska, for example, that hunt bear,
right.
and they have a strict rule: do not think about hunting bear when
Hmm.
you're out hunting bear, because the bear knows what you're thinking when you think it.
Mhm.
It hit the newspapers one time when Tlingit boy in southeast Alaska was walking along in the woods and he encountered a bear, and the bear was right there, standing up on its hind legs. And the boy talked in his language that he was taught, backed away very slowly, saying, "I'm sorry to have disturbed you. I am going to go away and I will not hurt you." And and he was able to keep the bear standing there and not doing anything except watching him walk away. Now, I also was invited to Patagonia, where the Mapuche people invited me to be part of their ceremony. And it was run by the oldest woman in the world. She was 126 plus years old, and she ran the ceremonies from 6 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night for 4 days. And she was 126 years old. And they were doing what they call a choika dance. And choika dance is a dance of the ostrich. It's called the drunken ostrich dance. And the reason that they were doing it was because they hadn't had rain in this area. They called Anacorn Grande for a long, long time. And they noticed that the ostrich, when they want rain, they go crazy legs. They move in crazy ways as if they were drunk. And so they decided to copy that. And the men would do this troika dance all day long for 12 hours while we provided them or gave them energy. And at the end of it, after 4 days, in the sacred ground that we were on, there were 4 eagles. 2 of them were snow eagles, and they were going clockwise and going upwards. And the other side were, what do you call them, southern birds now? What do you call those southern birds in South?
You mean the condor?
Condor. The condors were going counterclockwise and going upwards. And then we heard thunder and lightning ways away, and it came closer and closer, and it was raining unbelievable size of the rain that was coming down. And so that's a different relationship because they were doing ceremony and they cooperated and collaborated with these animals.
Yeah. I just happen to have one of my very well-read books. I've and this is called In the Spirit of the Earth. And he talks about indigenous ways. And um, I can pull quotes out of almost any place in the book. The he's talking about he's expanding on what you were just saying about not thinking like a human, not thinking that I am going to take that animal. I'm going to put its head on my wall as a trophy. I'm going to get the biggest, baddest bear out there. And he says, it has become clear to me that perception has to be understood and recognized as a reciprocal exchange. When we see things, we are also being seen by them. When we hear things, we're also being heard. Perception is a type of communication that precedes language. Um, and he goes on to say, there's nothing for me to say audibly, nothing for me to fashion. Um, I stood in a place of palpable powers of the earth, an intruder, and was deeply ashamed and yes, frightened. This was a place of enormous meaning to me, and I felt loss. Yet in some ineffable way, I felt that I should stay. Um, the uh, and he goes on to talk about the medicine that the beings carry with them. And if you are paying attention, you can be there with their medicine. And not only that, and I've had this experience a couple of times, I'm able to see with their eyes. I'm able to become the Ugudawa, which is an animal in Sri Lanka. I'm able to become the yak in Ladakh. And be very conscious that this is a reciprocal exchange. It's not like me looking at them. There's this looking going on, which I think is really, really cool. Okay, we'll do one more question and then we'll see what we're going to do with the rest of our questions here. One more question and let me so what is your hero name? And so this is like, who is your hero? Do you recognize or have a hero? And that hero may be someone from your history that you recognize in your history. This may be someone who is mythical and could be historical and mythical at the same time. Or it could be someone like, let's say, the Hulk is your hero, or Iron Man is your hero, in which case you're looking at their qualities or their energy, and hopefully you've got someone in mind a little more meaty than comic book heroes. Um, Mine, um, I think that everyone in my what I call my societal transformation lineage is a hero for me. And I consciously call on their name. I consciously call on their energy when times get uh, hard. Gandhi and Martin Luther King and Václav Havel and Nelson Mandela. And I'd also add to that list um, Vamala Thakar, and like I said, when times get rough for me, I remember that there are people in my societal transformation lineage who had really seriously rough times, and they transcended them. They got their act together, and the fact that they exist helps me keep my act together. So I don't know if you have those kinds of heroes, Ilarion. Oh, mythical. Uh, Not. I'm aware of that myth can be very powerful, but I just don't have any that are mythical or fictional. If I think hard enough, maybe something will come to me.
Okay. Well, my perspective is maybe somewhat different than most people. When I, for example, drive by and driving and I see a homeless person, I say, bless you for having the courage to be on Mother Earth at this point in time. And I see there's a reason for everybody to be here right now. They have chosen to be here, and it takes courage to do that. And so, as far as I'm concerned, everybody's a hero, even the most dreadful person that you can think of.
What you just heard was the sound of me biting my tongue. I I'll wait to hear from everybody else, and maybe we'll keep going. Okay, somebody, yep, Esther.
My hero is Jesus. He 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 was really a brave person, and yet he was totally a peacekeeper, and it inspires me.
Yeah, actually, we call him the universal enlightened being.
I find it absolutely amazing how especially in this society, people can look at him and not see him. I was talking to a guy. This is right in the beginning of the Iraq War. And I was in some city to do a talk, and the person I stayed with, I think they set me up with him just to see how if I could maintain some level of equanimity with him because he was really hawkish. He wanted to go in with nuclear weapons, just bomb the whole country, etc. And he was a priest. He had the collar and he had a big crucifix around his neck. And I said, um, uh, I think that there's always an opportunity for us to practice loving nonviolence. There's, oh no, you need a strong defense. And I pointed to his crucifix and I said, the Iraqis are our neighbors, and we're supposed to love. You are commanded to love your neighbor. And he looked at me and he said, um, uh, yeah, I pray to Jesus. I don't follow Jesus. I'm, that, and he said, nobody can do that. And I said, I do it. I mean, I'm in a way, I'm nobody, but yeah, I can do that. I do that. You can do it if you want to, and you can find up all the excuses in the world if you don't, you know. And yeah, that was really interesting. Okay, other comments, questions, thoughts, other heroes.
Yeah, Sharif, I think we should give everybody a chance to say whatever is on their minds and hearts.
Okay. Becky, you are unmuted.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of hard to describe, but it's sort of just the awe, the of life, just that it is what it is, and it it does what it does, and it's just like I just get so caught up when there's always something every time I just start sensing it, and I'm just always just amazed and just in awe.
Okay, and Jenna.
So this one is more of a challenge for me. There aren't that many. There aren't that many heroes that are women historically. I'm not as schooled in mythical, and the fictional are sort of Hollywood. So I'm not sure.
Okay. It's interesting that you said that, cause I'm until you mentioned about the women heroes, I didn't think about the 2 or 3 books I'm carrying around in my book bag right now on Mary Magdalene, and start thinking about her as um, a heroine, and getting um, well, uh, so yeah, so she's also in my lineage, and I keep forgetting about that. So it's interesting that you that even someone I think of as, yes, she's there, When I just started thinking about them, and all the folks, the dudes came up on my list. Okay.
Well, I do want to add,
Mhm.
in terms of societal transformation, yes, I have appreciation in my heart for spiritual leaders such as Jesus, Gandhi, what he accomplished, what Martin Luther King did in this country. And I guess for some reason, this is surprising me. It's like I didn't have this affiliation before this discussion, but there was Elizabeth I, Queen of England, who ruled and is regarded for her rule. And she ruled for 45 or more years, close to 50 years. But that's if I had to choose a woman, I guess. But Mary Magdalene, yes. I don't think of her as a hero, though. I think of her as the example of what's possible. And she's being revived finally. I'll stop there.
Okay. So, top of the hour. What do we want to do? Another 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes? Yes, no? How we
I
feel?
need to go.
Okay. Maybe I can't hear you, Larian. Still can't.
So do I.
Okay, we're going. I can tell you the other questions. What is your values name? You know, are you so and so, the brave, the wise, the loving, you know, the courageous, the quality of your activities, and quality of your values, and then the quality of your activities. The your the tireless, the funny, the whatever you got as activity. This has been a very again, the right people are on the call. We would not have been able to have this deep a call without if we had had 20 people here. And so the universe knew this was perfect, and we have covered a whole lot of ground. I want to thank each of you for your contributions, or that what you put on the table here, and being very heartfelt in what you put down. I want to especially thank Ilarion for being Ilarion and giving us a different but very connected perspective on all of this. Ilarion and I have been talking about our rites of passage. We've got some suggestions for you. I won't be talking about them tonight. We need to go but we want to fire things up on the new moon. And the new moon is on the 19th, I think, I said. And we have some suggestions for how we can coordinate that energy across all of our time zones and across all of our lives. So we live very different lives. Lauren, do you want to have a last word here, or are you feeling complete or complete? Okay. So, thank you for this. Look forward to seeing us again either tomorrow morning or Thursday morning or next Tuesday or whenever you encounter the Catalyst Meditation. May all beings be well. May all beings be secure, and may all beings be happy. Thank you, and I'll see you later. Bye.